Okay. We should be live. I'm hoping we're live now.
It's looking live. It's looking alive.
Oh,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to quickly set my Discord to do not disturb.
Yes.
I have done a tweet. I have hassled in all of the Discord servers. Like the shameless shell that I am.
We're shilling for a good cause.
That's true. We aren't just chilling for ourselves. It's good. Alrighty. So, should I give it a minute or should I just dive in?
Let's give it a second. I just want to check the volume because I know after my computer crashed last time. I just want to check the
Hey, sound up in the chat if you can hear us, okay? That was an unintentional pun.
Last time.
You guys know it's an unintentional pun with me, because anyone who knows me well enough will know I hate them so much. It's my own personal, private battleground against all of my partners and many of my friends. Perhaps a foolish hill, but a hill nonetheless that I am set upon.
I think I'm going to turn you up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Should be good.
Should be good. All right. Hi, hello, everybody, and welcome to this hour. Let me do some quick counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our 6th stream this month. Standing Stones has been busy in June in Pride Month, and it's good. If you haven't caught any of our earlier streams, or even if you have and you just like hearing us talk, I assume yes because you're here. We are Standing Stones. We're a podcast guild devoted to character-driven stories, communal world-building, and having fun with friends. And tonight we are continuing with our Pride streams and raising money for various causes. And tonight it is Know Your Rights Camp, set up by Colin Kaepernick, whose mission is to advance the liberation and well-being of Black and Brown communities through education, self-empowerment, mass mobilization, and the creation of new systems that elevate the next generation of change leaders. And you can find us at Stones_Standing on Twitter. And I believe Know Your Rights Camp is just at Know Your Rights Camp. The link is in the doobly-doo. Oh, I've just given away just how much YouTube I've been watching since being spoilers. It's so much. So much. And tonight we are going to be playing, I'm using the description I wrote the other day, we're not playing Monster Hearts, which is the document I was looking at. No, tonight we are playing A Long Night in the Mech Bay by Nested Games. You can find the game over on itch. I believe it was part of the bundle. So if you bought the bundle, you've got it, or you've got access to it already, and you should download it. But the link to the itch and to Nested Games' Twitter are in the box below the Twitch stream as well. What do I say next? Long Night in the Mech game. Long Night in the Mech Bay is a game about relationships forged during a mech war, specifically because August made the good noises when I suggested we do so. We are playing in the Bleed universe because Brian didn't say no we couldn't.
Also, I don't think you introduced yourself.
I know, I was going to talk a little bit about the game, but yes,
okay.
I should.
Okay.
I should.
We can talk about the game first. It's cool.
Yeah, because I was going to read the spiel in the
text.
You're
right. That's how intros go. God, it's been so long since I've recorded and led that I forgot how the intros fucking go.
The flavor text is really well. So I'm paraphrasing this to fit the system, and I realized I couldn't remember. Oh no, I think I know the name of the system. So about 10 years ago, if I've got my timeline right, from current events in season 2 of The Room Where It Happened, there was a war in the bleed system. And this is where I have to check my notes on 3 different pages, so I'm very sorry that this is terrible audio. The Coalition of Independent Planets have come together to combat. I don't know if tyrannical is correct. Is the correct to this? That's the impression I got. They're the bad guys, at least from our perspective. The United Planetary Ruling Council. One of us is CIP's is the CIP's ace pilot who barely escaped with their life at a recent incident. The other is the CIP's best mechanic, who's seen more than their fair share of action. Sadly, there is no time to rest. This mech needs to be ready to fight tomorrow, and no one else is available to help. It's going to be a long night. And now I can introduce myself.
Yes.
I'm Jade. You can find me on Twitter at JadeOxfordRose. My pronouns are they, them. You can listen to me at FTLcast on Follow the Leader. You also will hear me on Dumb Kids Playing Hero, an Animorphs actual play podcast, GM'd by the lovely Danielle, in which my co-player today is also in.
Indeed. I'm August. You can find me on Twitter at HarpyDora. I was formerly known as Dora. No, I don't know what I, as a trans creator, am doing with my branding right now. It's okay. It's fine. And I have a question for you, Jade. So I didn't think to get the bleed theme from Brian, but I do have our sci-fi theme. So do we want to play that after we finish our introductions?
We should absolutely do that. We should absolutely do that.
Okay, cool.
Brian composed it, so it's like totally bleed adjacent.
Yes.
Before we get into play and blast some awesome music at you, just to go over our lines and veils. Lines, which are things we absolutely do not want to see, are racism, sexism, transphobia, homophobia, violence against children, sexual assault, domestic violence or intimate partner violence, emotional abuse, claustrophobia, drowning and suffocation. And our veils, which are things we're fine with addressing but we'll just fade to black on, are steamy situations, terminal illness, pandemics, self-harm, and graphic descriptions of bodily harm. And that's all of that, so we can play some music, and I will shut up while that plays. What?
Okay. I don't know. I was hearing some weird buzzing noise, which I hope OBS wasn't picking up. But the theme's over now.
All right. Just before we get into play, I'm going to just go over our incentives because, as I said at the top, we are trying to raise money for local for causes. As I said before, I'm sorry, it is 20 past 11, and I did not get a lot of sleep last night, and it's going to be a late night tonight. The energy drink is here. Give me 20 minutes. I'll settle right in. It'll be fine. But we have our incentives. We don't have any specific ones for this game because we couldn't figure out how to incentivize it. That said, last night, Danielle and I were just like, give us money and we'll make it more painful. So perhaps that option will reveal itself later. But as has been rolling throughout the month, you can donate to get a drabble written by the lovely Mab, or for an increased amount of money. That's $20 for the drabble. Though for a $75 donation, you can get up to 2,000 words. The details of what you can get are over on the Tiltify page. Just click on the little reward star and the details will drop down. For $30, I will record up to 5 minutes of audio for you, sounding, I promise, more coherent than I sound right now. And that can be custom voicemail, that could be reading a monologue from a film or some Shakespeare or any play you like. I'm happy to do that for you. For $50, you can get some metal dice hand forged by Brian, a pair of D6s that will get sent out to you. And for $100, you can get a commission of some art by Sam S.I.Kalo. It's good stuff. Or though, if you want to just chuck $1 or $2 at us during the stream, that'd be great. We're trying to just, every little bit helps. We're all just trying to do our bit, and that's why we're here doing what we do best, which is, in mine and August's case, let's play a game involving mechs and make each other sad.
Yes.
Yes. But today, neither of us are playing the mech, so this is new ground for us.
Weird.
Yeah. So we have already decided between us who is the mechanic and who is the pilot. We've done things like picking our names and our nicknames and our call signs. And we decided that we'll be making up our own details that we can go through as we introduce ourselves. So how do we want to lay this out for the lovely people joining us? Do we want to just... please stop me talking, please.
I was just gonna say, I think that we should start with introducing the ace pilot first.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we've introduced ourselves, we can also talk about our family really quick.
Mm-hmm. I think that'll become clear as we introduce the characters. But as you might be able to see from the overlay, this evening I am playing Nomi Warmth of the Dawn Shelby, who uses she, her pronouns. Her call sign is Astra. She is a tall woman, 6'2", 6'3", broad with short through the eyebrow, dark eyes, sort of a kind face, but definitely has the physique of somebody you do not want to mess with. An Amazon was used, not by me to describe her, but has definitely come up in descriptions. And I'm just going to send some images to August now because I'm a terrible friend.
Oh my god.
Have you been watching Doro Hidero by any chance?
It is on my radar as something that would probably absolutely be my shit. But I have not watched it.
Well, this is the body type that I am envisioning for Nomi. So, that I'm dropping in the voice text channel now. And this is me just targeting you specifically because I'm a terrible friend.
Yeah, images of this character specifically have been targeting me and are the reason why I want to watch this show.
Let me say, watch Dora Hidero because it's really weird and really interesting, and there are two really buff ladies if that is your kind of thing.
Hang on. I will... let me see if I can do this on the fly.
Brian's stealing something. Oh no.
This is the image that Jade sent me. So, yeah.
But with the short dark hair, as you can see in the pit crew.
Yeah.
Oh, Anya's calling you out in the voice text, August.
That is unsurprising.
Alrighty. I think that's all I need to introduce about her.
I think so.
Yeah. And that. Oh, this is something that has never been established before. I think she is in her mid to late 30s. Probably late 30s. So, yeah,
Cool.
like late 30s, maybe just turning 40. As I desperately work the maths backwards and try to establish a fact that has never been established before.
All right. Uh, well, as folks can see, uh, as folks can see in the overlay, I am playing Aloysius Coppertop Shelby. He uses he/him pronouns. He is a mechanic. His nickname in the mech bay is Wrench. And he's short, curly red hair. This pickaroo didn't really have curly hair, but I liked the face enough that it's like, screw it. I just made it kind of shaggy. He's kind of wiry in build, but he has soft features, and I'm not going to talk about the other nickname.
I can come up later. But yeah, that's them. And for those of you paying attention or who have listened to Building the Bleed and The Spirit of 77, these are the parents of the Shelby siblings, currently getting up to mischief somewhere in the Bleed, rescuing dogs at stations, or trying to, and then dogs rescue themselves because dogs are great. But this is during the war, as we said before, between the UPRC and the CIP. So, for those of you that have listened to that episode, you kind of know where this story is going to end.
Everything will be fine. We'll go out for ice cream. It'll be great.
You're so right. Your optimism is a guiding light in these trying times. Okay, so that's them. The next thing we need to establish, and this is part of the little building section of the game, is we have to decide what we barely survived. It gives options in the playbook, or the playtext, of a vicious battle, a lethal duel, cruel betrayal, or a crushing defeat. And we also have to establish because soon the pilot must face the UCRP, and we've got a series of 4 options to pick from there: a foolhardy rescue, a tearful duel, a hopeless last stand, or a beleaguered final battle. This is taking place on the planet of Kenshaw, and a big battle is right on the horizon. We know that much, and I think maybe there's an air of people know it's going to be a big deal. This isn't just like a little skirmish that's due to happen, which is why it's so pressing that Nomi's Mech, which I didn't name. Fuck. The book didn't tell me I had to come up with a name for the mech. Shit. And all the names of the mechs in the Bleed are really good. Damn it. Danielle, you're in the chat. You want to name this mech? Regardless, the mech needs to be done. Needs to be patched up. What do we think we barely survived?
I think just because of who I am as a person and because of how we know things go, uh, a betrayal could be fun.
That's interesting.
Just maybe we were, maybe we're stationed at an outpost that was supposed to be secret, but the location was leaked by somebody who was offered a nice retirement somewhere.
I like that. Alrighty.
Oh, also, we forgot to say what we most desire as well.
Oh, man. I think Naomi wants to survive this and go home. Go back to her children with her husband.
Yeah, that's pretty much like the generality. I'm imagining like the specificity. Like Aloysius has this image in his head of like working with Coop to teach them how to disassemble a certain type of engine with like Nomi in the background, maybe Samson riding herd on Caraway. Danielle has come through with a mech name for you.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Danielle has suggested Atlas. And yeah, that's giving me so good. Thank you, Danielle. All right. So we know who our characters are. We know what they desire. I think that means we can get into play. Oh, we do need to describe the mechanic and pilot's relationship. And I know we established because what on a base level it is these two are already a well-established couple. But the whole notion of the game is about relationships reforged, which I find interesting because how long they've been away from home and what that might have done to their relationship, even if they both do want to be going home together. So,
Well, there's nothing saying that they've been stationed together
this is true.
the entire time. So this could easily be something where, like, let's say Nomi signed up first, and then Aloysius signed up a little later, and has basically been chasing her around, trying to get back by her side.
That's some good shit right there. I was about to say that's some good gay shit. I am aware that this is just because it's a man and woman doesn't mean it's a straight relationship.
Yeah.
Still that good gay shit. This man loves his very tall wife. Alrighty. So, the game is structured around 3 mini-games, Reveries Part 1 and 2, and Testing the Waters. We play through the mini-games in order using the instructions provided, and we can adjust any setting or question details to fit the story we are trying to tell. So, if you're ready to go, Reveries Part 1 is Scars. Setup. Pilot asks the mechanic what the mech bay looks like, and mechanic asks the pilot how the mech became badly damaged.
So I think the mech bay, I am kind of imagining the Shatterdome from Pacific Rim,
Spoiler alert, that's what that concept art that I used for the overlay is from. Yes, good. Yes, good.
I hadn't even noticed.
I mean, it's concept art, so it's a little tricky. I mean, I don't think the mechs in this were that big,
Yeah.
but that vibe is
Yeah.
good.
All the there, even though there's a lot of like space to it, they feel really crowded. There's a lot of scaffolding. There's a lot of like sparks flying from welding and stuff. It's not like, I never got the impression that the Shatterdome was particularly unsanitary, but nothing looked really clean.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It's like any kind of space where you're doing that kind of machine work. It's just like the nature of what you're working with and what you're doing doesn't. It can be tidy, but it's never going to be pristine because that's not how engines work.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust a spotless like workshop. Like if everything was clean and shiny.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you even do here? I know that Kenshore is a snowy planet. Lots of lumber and like pine trees and stuff. Do we think this was built here, or was it like almost like a drop ship landed and then is what the base was? I'm trying to think. All I can think of is fucking Thunderbirds. Lordy, what a deep cut. I'm very sorry, but do we think this was built here, or was this sort of like prefabricated sections brought here? Um, all I can think of now is 4 Walmart stock stacked on top of each other because I re-listened to that episode of Dumb Kids the other day.
I like the idea of this being prefab stuff that was brought in and not thrown up overnight, but probably over the course of a couple of weeks it was bolted together.
Mm-hmm. I like it. And I think Atlas became badly damaged because we had that ambush. There are probably a few mechs available here, but as this is more of an outpost, okay, it's probably not as heavy on forces, at least stationed here, as it could have been. So while they were able to sort of drive the UPRC forces off, I think, I mean, that it's that kind of heavy wear and tear from like weapons fire. I also think like maybe one arm is like on the verge of coming off, like where there's been clear. If it was a human person, you'd say like a severe dislocation, but it's like that kind of like everything sort of exposed in the shoulder of this mech, and I think there's like a big chunk out of like one of the legs as well, and like had to very much limp back, and its mobility is shot right now. So took a beating.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right. So during this game, we alternate asking questions from the list below, beginning a shared reverie between our characters. The more frustrated person goes first. And then the player who was asked the question frames the new scene by describing the time and location. Within the reverie, players may describe details from the past, engage in conversation, or narrate events in the scene. If at any point during the reverie one person hurts the other in a memorable way decided by the recipient of the injury, the recipient takes a scar token. After both players agree that the reverie is over, the recipient of the token then describes a part of the mech that is broken. So maybe I shouldn't have gone into so much detail, but that'll teach me not to read the game more properly before we start. And then when both players agree that the reverie is over, the next person may ask a new question. So...
Cool. Which one of us do we think is more frustrated, though?
I can see an argument for it going either way, given you
Yeah.
what we were establishing about Aloysius, like basically having over the course of the war, since I like chasing her around, for want of a better turn of phrase, to get here. But also, like, I think it's one thing, like knowing that your partner does a dangerous job and accepting the reality of that,
Yeah.
but then being like seeing it inescapably in front. Whereas I think for Naomi's case could be knowing that this has to be fixed before, and that pressure, that hating that she didn't, or that the mech got so damaged, like that she wasn't more on it, that she hadn't done a better job, and now the two of them are going to have to do this and sort this out, and she doesn't want to be doing it anymore, I don't think. She certainly doesn't want to be up all night fixing this,
Yeah.
because it shouldn't have happened. So I guess it's do you want to go first, or do I want to go first? So
Uh, let's roll a standard D2. 1 you go first, 2 I go first.
seems fair.
Okay. Then Aloysius is definitely definitely kind of fuming. He's upset at the realities of his wife being on the front lines. He's upset that it took so long to get to her, and now, like, she's she's nearly died, and the evidence of that is right in front of him, and he's supposed to fix that. So
Alrighty.
okay.
So, these are some fun questions.
They really are.
The good thing is there's only one location on there that we need to change.
Yeah. I don't want to lead out with a heavy hitting question, but at the same time, I'm really interested in your answer.
Okay.
So, do you remember when we first met? Why didn't we get along?
Okay. I need to frame this scene. See, this is where I'm going to inadvertently draw on something that somebody else has done, and I will give him all the due diligence, because I was trying to suss out in my head that this question, if I was going to be the one to answer it, and I had an idea for it. And I think I definitely remember. This is this scene. I think it's the height of summer on Live Oak. And this is a job interview of sorts that Aloysius is having at the Shelby and Sons Mechanical Engineering. Though I don't think it's called Shelby and Sons at that point. But this is like Nomi's father's business. So I mean, now I'm just thinking about Firefly. When Zoe and Wash met, and she was just like, I don't like him. It's the mustache. It bothers me. I don't think it's quite that.
Oh my god, Aloysius can't grow facial hair to save his life because, like, you know how some people are kind of strawberry blonde but have really red facial hair, but then there are some people who have red hair that have really light facial hair?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he has really light facial hair, so it doesn't matter like how far from puberty he gets, he just cannot grow a mustache.
Mm-hmm.
And every few years he forgets that and tries again.
Oh, that's. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy, no. Do we just checking this? Do we answer the questions at the beginning, or do we answer the questions within the scene?
I think we answer them within the scene.
All right, then. This is it. Then that's the scene established. How old do we? Because I'm assuming they're like of an age with each other, like a couple of years difference, maybe.
Yeah.
How old do we think they are?
Time for math. uh
I mean, they could be like teenagers.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I do like the idea of them being teenagers. Yeah, so in that case, since they're teenagers, this may be the first attempt Aloysius has ever made at a mustache.
Oh no. I think Nomi's still tall. Maybe she's not as tall as she ends up being, but probably isn't far off it. And I like the thought that she's already taller than Aloysius.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Cool.
So yeah, and now we can describe this sort of in the third person, engage in conversation, or narrate events in the scene.
So do you think that, like, I'm there because I'm looking for a job?
That tracks.
Just, like, trying to find some means of income because it's not like you know, it's not like I can do anything like resource collection or anything like that because I'm too wimpy. But, you know, I'm good with machines, so.
Yeah. All right. Do we think this is before he comes in to talk to her dad, or after? Because the visual of both is good, frankly.
I like it being before. Just because I suspect that he may put his foot in his mouth and then realize, oh shit, I have just sassed off to my hopefully future boss's daughter.
Nice. So I feel like he maybe is approaching the big workshop space, and Nomi steps out and is in like cutoffs and like a knotted shirt, and just sort of like stops and looks up and doesn't say anything. It's just sort of like,
I think Aloysius just like kind of stops for a moment and then is like, now I know I ain't got anything on my face, 'cause I scrubbed up real nice for this.
You sure about that? Like indicates on her own face, just above the top lip.
um, I think he kind of, like, glares a little and is like, um, God, how to phrase this? Not my fault you can't appreciate quality facial hair.
And that's an in-character snort, I think. I guess I can. You here to see Mr. Shelby, I assume?
You assume right?
He's in there. And sort of like steps back from the door, um, like indicating the way in.
Aloysius, like, pushes up his glasses and then kind of like, is she like sort of blocking the door, like making him have to squeeze past her?
No, I don't think it's that kind of a vibe. It is like she has moved out of the way, but like he is gonna have to pass just by the nature of it. She's not. She's
Mm-hmm.
next to the door, not in the door frame.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, I think he just kind of like nods at her when when he goes through the door, but he doesn't like thank her for her instructions.
um, I like that it maybe cuts to a little bit later, and um, maybe there's the sound of really animated chatter coming from inside the barn or the workshop. I mean, it's both. Um, and looking mildly, probably mildly put out, um, Nomi goes in with a jug of something cold for everyone in there to drink. Assume she has a brother at this point because yes, and her dad. Oh man, I could establish some canon here.
Do it, do it.
Yeah, I think given that he will be the godfather of their first child, I think a young Elijah Hope for the Harvest works there too, at least at this point in his life.
Yes.
So Nomi comes in and sets like this tray down. It's not important how old she is in this moment. I'm just like, okay, I really don't know portray her as just like this kind of like person, just like, we all do things to help out the family that maybe aren't our usual sort of
Yeah.
vibe as people. And just looks marginally unimpressed at how long this has been going on.
I think do, is this the point where, like, either she says something or
Mhm.
her dad says something to indicate their relationship.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's funny. Maybe I'm just going to call him Mr. Shelby. I don't want to rattle through our NPC list just yet. And what's the term of endearment that people use for their children in like in this analogous southern setting?
um,
Because all I can think of like is the names that my parents called me. Um, so
is it one of those things where she's just like, "Here you go, Pa," and
mm,
then he's like, "Thank you, darling," or
yeah,
oh God, it
yeah.
is
Okay, I'll make.
hilarious if he calls her Peanut.
I hate it, but I also love it. Because yes, I don't, it's good
At
and
which,
sort of. Hmm.
sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, it's not. No, we're good. We're good. We're good. He says that. Um,
At which point, Aloysius goes completely white and freezes up and mentally is stuffing breadsticks in his purse. Uh, um, yeah, it's. I'm just imagining later he's just lying face down on the floor, groaning. Like, just
yeah.
face down on the grass outside the shop.
Hmm.
Um,
I don't know what more there needs to be in the scene for
I
this.
I don't think there needs to be. I think this is,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm trying not to lean into making Nomi too snarky because that's like most of my other characters. But I was playing Max yesterday, so everything was just dialed way, way up. Um, yeah, but I think there's just this moment, this look on her face as he goes white like that, and just like, yeah, that's what you get, isn't it? Or I think like not such a smart mouth now, not said out loud, but there's definitely a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we'll we can leave it there for that scene, but just really amused by this like really bad first interaction between the two of them as teenagers. So,
He didn't get the job. At least not then. I think
mm-hmm.
maybe at some point he did end up working around the shop in general, but I don't think he got the job then.
I like that. All right. Hmm. I don't feel like anyone got hurt in a memorable way there.
No.
I mean, just like good teenage embarrassment, but that's about it.
Yeah.
All right. Hmm. Hmm. My question. Okay, I like this because implies that they maybe haven't been apart the whole war.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you remember when you destroyed my last mech?
Hmm.
Um,
I'm going I'm going to argue
mm-hmm.
that I did not have anything to do with the destruction of that mech. I told you those modifications were potentially unstable. I told you not to redline it, but you didn't listen to me.
Amazing. How long ago do we think this was? Like, where is this? Like, time and location. Is this another base? It's like 6 months ago, or what do we think?
Yeah, 6
But
months ago.
I love how you've pitched this already. It's good.
Yeah, 6 months ago sounds good. And definitely not here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember literally any location in the bleed, and they have all fled my head.
Yeah. Yeah. No. All I can think of is all I can think of is locations where they're definitely not going to be. Should have bugged Brian for planet names first.
Yeah.
Oh well. It's fine. Time to make shit up. You're right. We have the canon now. It's our world now. What if it's like on a ship though? It's like moving between, like a troop ship,
Yeah.
for want of a better phrase.
Yeah, we're moving between the planet and the
Planet. We're moving
planet.
between two locations.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a point where they've managed to catch up with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, they may not even be in the same detachment. Like it's like they may, it may just be they're just on the same troop carrier, but they're not necessarily supposed to be working together right now. But as soon as he catches wind that she's here.
what if this is to expand on that? She goes to check on her mech, and he is there, and he's got like pieces of it open, and is like doing work on it. And I think this is somebody is touching my mech, and is like, she's sort of storming over there and has picked up something ready to kick off if need be. And she realizes who it is, and drops what it was with, and it's clatter. It's way louder than it probably be. And she just says in this low voice, "Aloysius Capitap Shelby, what are you doing to my mech?"
Amber in the chat says, "Now kiss."
There's time for that.
He like looks up and looks a little startled, and like wipes hair away from his eyes, but leaves a greasy streak over his eyebrows, and he kind of like grins lopsidedly, and he's just like, "Well, know me, warmth of the dawn, Shelby. I'd be lying if I said I didn't expect to see you here."
Well, that makes one of us, doesn't it? And she like crosses over to him. Like,
I have a name for the mech, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
How about since we continue the theme of ill-fated men from mythology, how about Gilgamesh?
I can't remember the story of Gilgamesh, but sure. I dig it.
Yeah, Aloysius kind of like pats Gilgamesh and is just like, I just thought I'd get reacquainted with old Gale here.
Yeah. And she sort of like echoes the same motion, like patting the other side. We've been in it. And I think in this moment you can see that scar through her eyebrow is sort of fresher. Like she picked up pretty damn recently. It might still have like the it might still have a couple of stitches in it. So. Amber, write your own fanfic.
Amber in the chat coming through with, and then the mech just picks you two up and smushes you together. No, that's a different mech, different time. Yeah. Gotta say, y'all are a sight for sore eyes.
I mean, same. Kind of providence, I suppose, you being here now.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
How does he phrase that? Well, neither hell nor UPRC could keep me away from you for long.
I think her whole expression just sort of softens. God, you always been this romantic, or is it just the fact I ain't seen you in a while?
His expression softens, and he's just like, I'm frankly wounded that you have forgotten all my charm.
Is that why your karma is up?
He gets a little flustered and, like, turns his attention back to Gilgamesh. And starts rattling off some of the changes that he's made, like, you know, increasing booster output by 8%, tuning the handling for another to be able to tolerate another half G, you know, very technical things that I, August, have no frame of reference for.
This ain't gonna be like when you adjusted the seat in the truck, is it? And then forgot to put it back. You always leave it set for you.
Now he looks indignant, and he is kind of teasing when he, you know, with all of the parts of Gilgamesh kind of like on the ground around him. He's just like, all right, I can see when I'm not wanted. I can just leave.
Don't you fucking dare. And I think at that point she like just wraps him up in a hug. Definitely picks him up a little bit. Because she can.
Yeah, he throws his arms. Actually, no, I don't think he can get. He can't throw his arms. He like wiggles so he can get one arm out to put around her neck.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to be giving each other scar tokens.
I know, we're bad at this.
We're focused on the long game of making things soft, so that way when things inevitably happen later, we're playing ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pain can come later.
Yeah.
I say can. Pain will come later.
Yeah.
Oh man, are we just supposed to continue? Are we supposed to be doing? I think we are supposed to be inflicting scars during each scene.
Yes, we are.
Or each of these reveries. Oh, we're bad at this.
Yeah. I do feel like that's a good end to the scene, though.
Okay, that's good. We'll make the next one. We'll put some pain in the next one.
Yes.
We've already described parts of Atlas that are broken, so it's fine.
Yes. Here's one that we could potentially hurt each other with.
Ooh.
Do you remember when Malik Howe died?
Hmm. Bless you, Danielle, who's just said in the chat, considering I'm dying over here, you can hurt each other with soft. Okay, I'll pitch this to you. This, they aren't together in person. I think this is like a video call.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh no. Oh no, did I lose Jade?
now I'm back. It's my laptop's warm, so it periodically likes to disconnect from the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
It's fine. If I drop, I'll normally be back pretty quick.
I'm in streaming mode, so I can't hear the doobly doop when you join.
Yeah, no, I'm back. So yeah, I think Malik is somebody also from Live Oak. Either joined up at the same time as Nomi did, or maybe when things were first kicking off in the war, it was something the three of them spoke about. And this is them talking about it. So maybe this is like a year or so ago, where they have managed to make contact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Who is telling who, do we think here?
Oh, I've got something.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to... Aloysius is... trying to think of the best way for him to be contacting Nomi, or trying to contact Nomi. I think like because of the state of like communication in the bleed, I think maybe he sends a missive first that's like, call me, but he's the one telling her.
All right.
And
so I like that, like this is like over a bad connection. Like the screens are maybe like an old long distance call, or you know, a shitty Zoom call. No, it's Skype. So like the video feed keeps freezing and like there's lag on the audio. But yeah, like it's a sanctioned call.
Yeah. And like the image is grainy, but she can tell that he's really upset, and as soon as he sees the connection complete, he just says, Malik's dead.
She doesn't reply for the longest time. And I think he wonders that that she didn't hear it. Maybe he's like going to repeat it when like her head like bows slightly. I'm imagining it still having a receiver because I like that mix of clunky old tech and so like the hair's sort of fallen a little around the face, and the receiver's like pressed up against her ear, and you just hear this slow exhale. Oh shit.
Was an accident. We were working together, and he was manning the winch while I was trying to work, and I didn't do a thorough check, I guess, and it broke, and I got out in time, and he didn't.
Hear another one of those slow exhales, and Nomi's not a massively talkative person. Like, of the two of them, he's the talker. I think it's a little bit like of a taciturn thing with her, and also like maybe she's not doesn't feel super comfortable talking necessarily, just like happy to be quiet. Maybe can be a little terse, but like she's just taking in this information. Oh man. Okay, that's kind of brutal.
Well, I'm glad you came up with something brutal, because if you hadn't, I'd had a standby, so.
Okay. I think she looks into the camera and he can see like her eyes are a little wet.
Mm-hmm.
And she just hangs up.
That is exactly what I was going to do as well. So.
Good shit.
Yep, I'm taking a scar token for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you hadn't done that, I was going to have him just be like, thought you should know, and then hang up.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. All right.
Cool.
Oh, we have to keep going until each of us has a scar.
Yes.
Cool.
At least one. Like, we can keep
At
going
least one.
if we
Mm-hmm.
want, but
Mm-hmm. All right. I like this. I like the alternating between life back home and stuff. So do you remember what you did to my home? Was that truly necessary?
oh boy. Um I feel bad because I feel like Aloysius is just a fucking goofball.
Mm-hmm. I
So,
mean, that tracks with how I've thought about him.
like, I am like, what springs to mind is just something very silly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh where like she comes home one day, like not too long after Samson was born,
Mm-hmm.
uh and he has gone bananas with like really bizarre and arcane ways to toddler proof the house.
Amazing. I love this.
Like like none of them make any fucking sense. He like has clearly not been sleep, like this is clearly an artifact of like the parental sleep deprivation that
Mm-hmm.
happens, um
Yeah.
combined with like, he's been taking care of a potentially colicky baby, and so he hasn't been able to like scratch that mechanic
Mm-hmm.
itch. So
Mm-hmm.
he's just like completely disassembled some of their small appliances to repurpose the guts for like trying to secure the knife drawer and shit like
Yeah.
that. Like, it makes
Mm-hmm.
no fucking sense whatsoever to anybody but him.
This is perfect because I think like she comes in and like I'm imagining like with a baby sling sort of carrier, like Samson being too young for this to even be remotely in need yet,
Yeah.
and just like, oh my good God, Q, what have you been doing?
What's it look like I've been doing?
Oh my God, Amber. Fuck.
Amber in the chat. It's just a robotic arm with a hand that gently pushes the baby away. No, it's a robotic arm that puts a hand on the baby's head while the baby just walks into it, just holds it at arm's length.
God. I mean, it looks like you're trying to turn our whole house into a mech, is what it looks like. What is that? And points to whatever this device is that's keeping the fridge shut.
It's a state of the art baby proofing system because we don't need to have Samson get into the meat drawer and get food poisoning from raw meat.
Nomi like glances down at Samson in the baby sling, who's maybe got like a fist in his mouth, doing that good baby thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, Q, how long? When are you expecting Sam to be crawling around for that to be an issue? Because, like, I know you're smart, but I don't think like that's gonna make motor functions like that kick in super fast. He's like 3 months old.
He is well developed for his age. And
You can say that again. Like takes the sling off and like sets. Oh wait, 3 months. I don't know babies.
hang on.
Trying to think of like when you can sit a baby in a high chair, kind of vibe. Like support the head.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's say he's just old enough for that, but maybe not crawling yet, because I know that they can sit up before they can crawl. So
Yeah, babies usually begin hands and knees crawling sometime between 6 and 11 months, according to the World Health Organization.
okay, so not there yet. Maybe can sit, or like there's like a little baby seat in the kitchen, that could be sat in, and like puts Sam in there and like buckles him into that seat and like gets a toy and pops it in there with him. And he's like looking at the baby while talking to him. He's just like, wow, this proud parent bit that you're doing is mighty endearing, honey. I don't think I could get past this baby proofing you've been doing.
Hmm.
Yes, sounds like you've got something percolating.
I don't wanna, but I'm gonna. Aloysius, like, is probably still fiddling with something with a screwdriver, and, like, he doesn't even look up from it, and he's just like, now, I know you ain't so sleep deprived that you can't figure out a basic baby proofing mechanism.
How does she reply? How does she reply? I think she goes quiet, um, and doesn't respond, and it's just like the sound of him tinkering with whatever it is he's playing with, and um, baby Sam like maybe gurgling a little, and if he was to look around, like she's got like this really sort of stung expression on her face, like, and she looks like she's trying to figure out what to say to that and can't find the words.
Yeah, and, like, Aloysius doesn't even realize that he's insulted her so badly.
Yeah. I think she picks up the whole baby seat arrangement and steps into his view and like slides the toolbox out of the way with one foot, and it's like a very decisive sort of kind of a vibe. And if you look up, like, her eyes are like, again, that sort of bright vibe, but she's also angry as well as upset. And just like, you're a smart man, Aloysius. But sometimes I swear you haven't got the first clue. Please put my house back to how it should be. I need you on my side, not fighting me with this. And she turns and leaves the kitchen. And I will take a scar token.
I'm trying to decide if I want to take a scar token for the last comment.
Fair.
Yeah, I think I'm going to.
Right on. Do we want to conclude this game?
I would like to do one more question each, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, I'm totally down. Should we maybe describe some parts of the mech that are broken in details now? As that's the stuff we're going to be fixing, as we've now got a couple of scar tokens. So,
yeah, we forgot to describe that when yeah.
Okay, well, I'll do that one I did earlier, which is where, like, the, like, shoulder joint has, like, been basically sort of almost shredded, and the arm is barely held on. Let's say it's the left arm.
I think that on the left side are just a bunch of scorch marks. And one of the pieces of armor plating on the mech's torso has been ripped off.
I am quickly looking at mechs for a visual.
I'm just low-key imagining
let me be clear, I'm on the Titanfall 2 wiki right now, is where I'm at. So.
I was imagining Striker Eureka, almost. But
I mean, that's also cool. I'm just trying to think, like, I feel like that's a little too flashy for a CIP.
True.
Mech.
Let me see if this is the one I was thinking of. How about a Scorch from Titanfall 2?
No. Ooh, I like that. I like that visual a lot.
Also, could you wiggle your USB cord, please?
Yeah. Is it getting that slightly staticky sound?
Yeah, you're good now.
Wicked. Alrighty. I like the thought it's mostly this shape, but maybe it's a little broader through the shoulders. Oh, actually, it's got that weird thing that looks almost like a backpack. So, I like that. Yeah, I'll just show you that picture that I'm looking at specifically. So, So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we've got an arm hanging off, basically hanging off. We've got some severe scorching. We need sort of a third notable injury or damage, I guess.
I was thinking the some of the plating had been ripped off.
Dope. Alrighty. Your turn to ask a question. We could always make one up.
Well, I'm trying to pick a NPC name.
Fair. Let me look at those as well. Because there are a couple in those I really liked.
Do you remember when you hurt my friend Nicola Giant Despair? What did it do to you?
Okay. I think maybe this is on that same transport. So on that same journey where they sort of reunited. And Jesus Christ, the local wildlife, I swear. And obviously where they've been deployed in different areas, like he's made friends and she's made friends. And I think maybe this is a scene of maybe them having food, like in the mess hall on the ship. Maybe this is like, I'm just thinking, like, again, the size of the CIP. Like, maybe this isn't a massive ship. There's maybe like 2 or 3 squads on him max, because you can only carry so many mechs at a time.
Yeah.
Could they be beefy? So, like, or maybe all squads have got like a dedicated mechanic that runs with them, which is a fun thought. So, I mean, we're supposed to answer the questions within the scene, aren't we? Though I have an idea of what Nicola did. So, gonna make you feel bad for what you wrote in that G-Doc. Honestly.
I'm just being goofy, don't mind me.
No, it's good. It's very good. Trying to think how I want to frame this scene, where I have this idea of what happened. So, I mean, I could just talk it out. I suppose we don't have to scene it like as a conversation.
Yeah.
So, I think what this was, it might have been like a friendly conversation at first, or friendly enough. And I like that Nicola was, because obviously it has been friends with Aloysius, so it's probably heard stories about their children. And I think it made a comment about Nomi making the choice to leave her children behind to fight in this war. Oof. And I think Nomi punches them out. Punches it out.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're easy to. She's easy to piss off, because, like a lot of people I know who are sort of strong and tall and big like this, they don't. Most of the time, they don't want to come across as aggressive because they've already got that size factor, and a lot of the time people want to play that down. And I feel like it's maybe him coming back to find like Nicola like sprawled out on the floor, like nose bleeding, and like Nomi's there with like fist clenched. It's like this regular thing. It's like, you do not talk to me about my children. Not ever. And I think she never says to wishes exactly what Nicola said to her. I think he came back to the end of the encounter, as it were. So
yeah, and I don't think it talks to him about what happened either.
Yeah. Here's the important thing, and this will determine if there's a scar involved. How did he react when he came back to find to that visual of his wife having like punched his friend in the face?
I think he trusts Nomi enough to he may not understand it, but it's like, well, if she thought that Nicola needed its face punched, then there was probably a good reason for that, and it's not like, she went to town on it, so
All right. My turn.
Yep.
That's another question. I'm quickly looking at episode descriptions in the hope of finding a planet name. Because I did a bad. Why has my podcasting app changed what it looks like? I hate this. It's gone to like dark mode. Rude, app. Rude. I mean, do you think even in this sort of war they had shore leave? Like, I like the thought that maybe this is back home, but during the war.
I mean,
alternatively, it's downtime and they can't go home, but they have like a couple of days. Because actually, that makes more sense because it's too far to get back. So, I'm trying to remember the name of the touristy planet that the Wyvern crew were at a couple of episodes ago.
I'm pretty sure if you had asked me before we started playing this, I would have remembered, but now all I can think is Space Pigeon Forge. Spigeon Forge, if you will.
It's the Pines. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you, Danielle, for saving me. Because I didn't want it to be Tupelo Station. I suppose Tupelo Station also might make more sense as a place for like CIP people to lay low. So, though the visual of the Pines is very good. But let's call it Tupelo Station. So yeah, this is. Do you remember the fight we had on Tupelo Station?
Mm.
And we have to establish at what point at the war this is. And where exactly on the station it is.
I just had a terrible thought, so I'm going to do it.
Hell yes.
To the question of, do I remember the fight we had on Tupelo Station? The answer is no. I was blind, stinking drunk.
Perfect. Was he drunk before the fight started? Or did he get so drunk afterwards that he doesn't remember?
I think that...
Or was he like part way there before and then...
He was partway there before and finished the job after.
Yeah. Do we want to scene any of this? Like, actively play it out, I mean, or do we want to just talk out what we think went down?
I'm honestly, like, not interested in zooming in too close on
Sure.
what could potentially have escalated to be a shouting match.
Yeah. Agreed.
But,
What do we think?
I was about to say, what do we think the fight was about?
How long ago do we think this was? This is a question that will lead me to an answer to that, so...
What if it wasn't that long ago? What if it was a matter of, like, a month and a half, if that...
Cool, it's Samson's birthday.
God damn it!
Yep. He's just turned 18, and it's his birthday, and neither of them are there. So...
Oh boy.
I think maybe maybe they were able to do a call or send a transmission or something from the station. And that was like earlier in the day, I guess, for as much worth as day or night is in this equation. So they've seen the kids that day. And now it's like a few hours later.
Yeah.
Oh. I remember something. What if... trying to remember some stuff that Zach said about Sam. Because he doesn't end up joining the CIP. I know that. But what if on that call he says he's thinking about it? About signing up to do what the two of them are doing.
Yeah, I can very clearly imagine Aloysius's, like, knee-jerk visceral reaction of don't you fucking dare.
So maybe that's what the fight was about. Like, maybe he says that on the call, and like Naomi plays Peacemaker, and they like finish out the call, and it's nice, and everyone's happy, and they wish him a happy birthday. And the fight later is like around like how dare you talk to him like that, and that's what the fight is about.
Mm-hmm.
Staying zoomed out, what does he say or do? Because I definitely think this fight is giving her a scar. So casual reminder that Sam looks a lot like Nomi.
Yeah. I think there's some combination of, like, I'm not gonna let him throw his life away, combined with, like, he can't leave his family behind, with, like, the lack of the lack of self-reflection to understand that that's possibly what he viewed his parents as doing.
Not to put words in his mouth, as it were, Aloysius, in that regard. Do you think there may have even been a comment along the lines of, he's too much like you for his own good?
Ooh, yes. Absolutely.
Delightful. All right. So, this last bit of damage. I think there is a puncture through the front of Atlas that narrowly avoided. I think you can see, like, this is a through and through, and it was something like a ballista. Like a big thing went through and has done some damage to the internal systems. But it's real clear, like, once the hatch is all the way, like the cockpit is all the way open, just how close it came to that could have killed Nomi. But like clearly she or Atlas turned into it just enough that it basically missed hitting Nomi inside the cockpit.
Hoo boy.
I'm a leaf on the wind, see how I saw.
That was uncalled for.
That was the visual I had. I wanted to share it with you, you know.
That was incredibly rude.
Danielle just said "fuck you, Jay" in the chat, and you know what? She's right to.
Yeah.
She's absolutely right to.
Yeah.
Casual reminder that one of my touchstones for creating Cooper Shelby is Wash from Firefly. No, that's fun.
Good times.
Let's ending the game. After each player possesses at least one scar token, discuss whether you wish to conclude the game or continue to ask questions. We've said we're going to conclude this game here. When both players agree to end the minigame, play out a scene where each person voices their pain to the other in a moment of impulsiveness, frustration, and vulnerability, with the mech framed. After the scene ends, say no more and begin the game. So I suppose this scene was the two of them, like, going over Atlas and cataloguing the damage.
Yeah.
So, and like, we've got these memories of these scenes of like meeting and like silly little fights about baby proofing the house and loss of different sorts.
I'm trying to think about how Aloysius would break down.
I mean, given what I like the thought of like we've gotten the cockpit open together, and because of the damage, it's slightly more difficult to open. And he sees the damage inside, and he puts together how much or how close it was, how close a call it was. And like maybe he's almost like sat in the cockpit or on the edge of the cockpit. It's got one of those little like frames around it.
Yeah,
I don't know how big the Titans are in Titanfall, but I'm imagining that Atlas is like maybe twice as tall as Nomi.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So like 3 times as tall as a regular person.
Yeah. What's that? 12 feet and so it's about 13.5 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe let's round it up. Let's say it's 15 feet tall. So.
Yeah. Hang on.
No worries.
I feel bad because like we're not supposed to be repairing the mech yet.
No.
So like my initial thoughts are not applicable.
Mm-hmm. I mean, can they be tweaked slightly to be like the beginnings of repairing or like figuring out what tools are going to be needed to do the work?
Yeah, maybe just surveying the damage, just like up close,
Mm-hmm.
like the 100-point checklist kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think he just like is mumbling to himself about things that need to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And as the list just gets longer and longer and longer,
Mm-hmm.
uh, he just like says to Nomi, "You can't keep doing this."
I mean, taking a beating is what I do, right? Gotta be worth it, though. Right?
I ain't convinced it is right now. Not if it means losing you.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I think she, if he's like up on a little level thing checking, will like reach up to take his hand and like try to get him to join her. And I think she'll like pull herself up to sit next to him,
Mm-hmm.
on the little elevated bit. You know, I ain't the type to make promises I can't keep. I don't work that way. I can't promise I won't get hurt no more. But, I mean, I've survived so far. And, like, yeah, I think she's gonna, like, put her hand, like, on the side of his jaw and stroke his cheek. She's like, you give me reason to. You and I are kids. Like, I didn't make this choice lightly, and I know you didn't either. I gotta believe that this fight's worth fighting, even if it's just for that. Even with all the hurt.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Besides, I got the best mechanic in CIP with me, right? I mean, ain't nothing Aloysius Copstop Shelby can't fix.
Except a broken heart. Sorry. I just had to get that out of my system.
Just so valid.
And he kind of sort of half smiles and is like, yeah, I guess you do have the best mechanic Rebellion can buy.
Best husband, too, but I'm not inclined to let other people make that use of you.
When were you gonna let me know you bought me? Were you gonna pay me that asking price?
I think she just laughs, and it's a little sad, but there's a warmth to it, and now I feel like I need to save that for the end.
I think he's gonna push the joke a little
Mm-hmm.
long,
Mm.
and be like, did you pay a good dowry to my paws?
I think the laughing like does that thing where it just starts turning you can hear it where it starts to turn into crying.
Hmm.
It's just that beginning to like catch. Um, and she says, "I sure hope it was enough."
I kind of feel like that's
Mm-hmm.
a good
Me
place for
too.
us to transition.
All right. Do we want to take like a 2 minute break before we get into the next one?
Yeah, we can do that quick bio. I'll go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
feed a little bit so he does not get raucous.
All right.
So,
Back in like 2-3 minutes. Oh, we're
back
back.
at,
We're back.
yeah, back at like 10.
Sounds good.
Okay.
God, you had to say let's jam.
I don't know why I've been in a Cowboy Bebop mood recently. I kind of wonder how well that series has aged.
Yeah. I tried to watch Cowboy Bebop last year, I think, and like I could see why it is what it is for people. I wish I kind of expected it to grab me more than it did.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I really like had fun watching it, I didn't feel like, and now I need to watch the next episode. But love
Yeah.
the character work in it. So
It may have just been like part of the zeitgeist. Like if you'd experienced it during its time, it may have landed differently.
I'm only really getting into animes and it is like in my mid-30s. I don't know how this has been the turn my life has taken, but here we are.
Shoo
So
Lord.
yeah, well, better late to the party than never, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Hi everybody. Talk is definitely relevant to what we're doing. Reveries Part 2, Making Repairs. For the setup, we sit in silence for a moment and think about the following questions, then tell the other player the answers. And this is interesting because you're answering questions about the other person rather than about yourself, which is not a mechanic I come across too often. So, first, what do you notice about the other person? And what are they thinking about right now? I assume that's like it is about. Oh no, I am misreading it. There we go. Never mind. Because I assume the what are they thinking about right now is about the self, because that makes more sense. Rather than projecting thoughts onto the other person.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of what does our character think the other character is thinking about right now.
Okay, we'll play it like that then, because that's how I read it first.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was just that idea is just too good not to use.
Okay.
Would you like to go first?
Sure. I think what Nomi notices about Aloysius is that he has ever such a slight tremor going on in his hands, which she knows is what happens when he's had like stimulants instead of sleep. And the thought was just like, when was the last time he got a proper night's sleep? And I was like, isn't sure when she last did, so she can't really judge. As for what she thinks he's thinking about in that moment, he's running the numbers and figuring out the mech and how to fix the mech, because that he can fix. And if he focuses on that, he doesn't have to think about what's happening. Fix the problem in front of him.
Fair. So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just hiccuped. You're good.
Oh. So, what Aloysius notices about Nomi is the way her scar has faded. Like, or no, we said that it was still in stitches. during that memory/scene.
I'm trying to remember which scene I said the scar was fresh in. Because we popcorned around on the timeline.
Yeah.
So I think it's healed by this point. It's probably not as white as it is in the image.
Yeah.
It's probably not that healed, but it's definitely like fully closed up and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
think it's got that pink new scar look to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he notices and kind of fixates on that. And I think he thinks she's thinking, um, that she thinks that he's foolish. Because we're in the middle of the war, what the fuck did you expect?
All right. So, for this game, the person who feels the heaviest weight from their guilt goes first. Begin with an apology. As before, players alternate asking questions from the list below, commencing a shared reverie between the two characters. The player who was asked the question, as before, frames the new scene by describing the time and location. If a person mends their relationship with the other one or atones for a past wound decided by the possessor of the token, the other person removes a scar token. Just making sure I'm reading that. Yeah, so if somebody makes an effort to repair the relationship, then the other person gets to take a scar off because the work's being made to repair it. I think that's what that wording implies. Because yeah, you're repairing the relationship. You're not working on it from your perspective. You're trying to heal the damage you've done to the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Hence repairing. After both players agree the reverie is over, the player who atoned then states an insight they gained for how to repair the mech. And you keep going until there are no scar tokens. So, okay. I like the phrasing of who feels the heaviest weight from their guilt, not who feels guiltiest.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting turn of phrase. What do you think?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. I suppose the other way of thinking, who do we think says sorry first? Because if it begins with an apology,
That is a good question. I think it might be Aloysius again.
mm-hmm.
Just because, like, and as far as, like, the weight of his guilt, he feels foolish, and he was projecting that onto Nomi a little. And I think he would definitely apologize just in general, but also specifically for making that assumption. So I think he shows up at her bunk in that good mechanic in their coveralls with them like zipped part way down and like tied around their waist, and then there's like a tank top underneath. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you don't need to tell me.
And I think without preamble, he just says, "I'm sorry. I've been a damn fool."
I think it's like a little graceful little nod of the head, and I think she just like slipped away for a little bit after that conversation, like needing to take a minute. And he's come and found her. I'm sorry too. For a lot of stuff. Well, let's get to work.
All right.
Question the first.
Do you remember when you first called me a friend?
I think this is back on Live Oak. A couple of years later. Maybe at this point, he's working at the Shelby Mechanical Engineering. And I think Nomi like splits time between there, because she's not mechanically inclined in the way that somebody, like, she's not bad, but like, I mean, with like Aloysius working there, there's a lot less that she even needs to help on. I think she does some mining. It's probably where she learned how to like pilot like a mech in the first place, was like mining equipment. I like the visual of it being summer. I keep coming back to these like real warm feeling memories to contrast with like the cold of Kenshaw. Which I like. And like they feel very warm, like the colors, and like not quite soft focus, but in contrast with like the harsh lines of the mech bay. I like to go into these little pockets of, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say, even if I'm doing a terrible job of saying it.
No, I feel you.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it's getting to evening, and Nomi's getting back from a shift. And is probably like real mucky looking, and he's leaving the shop to go home. Like meet at the gate at the edge of the Shelby property.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the one on the inside this time.
I think even though he's not a shitty teen, he's still a little bit shitty, and so he kind of like tips an imaginary hat at her and says, "I leave the fate of this establishment in your fine hands, ma'am."
I think of all the things he could have said to her in that moment, that wasn't what she was expecting, and she just lets out this guffaw of laughter. Maybe it's the first time he's heard her laughing like that. And like she was looking maybe a slightly slumped shoulders, like she like throws her head back and is like full on, like almost like belly laughing with it. And she looks at him and she's like, "Well, that's mighty kind." And I think she's like looking at him in a way that maybe he hasn't noticed her looking at him before. Don't want to say that she's never looked at him like oh, maybe this person isn't a complete muppet.
Well, you know what they call me, Aloysius Kindness Coppertop.
Hmm. Hmm. Coppertop, huh? And she sort of like ruffles her hand to the back of her own hair while looking sort of pointedly at his.
He kind of flushes a little and is like, family name.
Yeah. Suits you. Bit of a mouth. Aloysius up front, don't you think?
And now he's a little defensive. What's wrong with Aloysius?
I don't say there's nothing wrong with it, just that it was a...
It was a what you cut out?
a mouthful.
Mm. It is a dignified ancient name.
Huh.
I looked up what it meant, but I've forgotten. Hang on.
Oh my god, Danielle.
Danielle. Oh, yeah. It is a dignified ancient name that means famous warrior.
Uh-huh. Alright. To see what the name meaning of Nomi is.
While you do that, I think he continues to blather on about, like,
Mm-hmm.
how his paws are super into ancient history,
Mm-hmm.
and between now and the bleed, there's probably been some famous people named
Mm-hmm.
Aloysius, and
Mm-hmm. I think she's just smiling a little, just like, well, I don't know what Nomi means, to be honest. If my folks know, they never told me, but I mean, warmth of the dawn. I think you can figure out for yourself. You mind if I maybe come up with something shorter? No offense. Looking down at him.
he stops and just kind of looks up at her, and it's like, none taken. Ain't too many people taller than you.
Daddy did say you're a smart one. Mighty powerful observation there. But she doesn't look bothered by it, genuinely smiling. I think she looks thoughtful. She's like, maybe I'll call you Q.
He looks a little relieved,
Mm-hmm.
albeit baffled.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was expecting something a little more derivative, but Q's good. I like Q.
I like Q too. She look like slaps her thighs.
He goes the unique type of red-faced that
Mm-hmm.
only a fair-skinned red-headed person can go,
Mm-hmm.
and just sort of stammers, well, like I said, I turn over the watch of this establishment to you. I think I might have left an appliance on, but I guess I'll see you when I see you. And he kind of like scurries off.
I think I want to leave it there with just like the shot of her smiling as he retreats.
Very good.
If there's any kind of coda on it, I think it's her smiling as she sort of comes into the family house and somebody asking what she looking so happy about. Oh, she's like, ah, made a friend.
Aww.
So yeah, there's that.
I am removing a scar token.
Hell yeah. The player who atoned, which is me, then states an insight they gained for how to repair the mech. Hmm. I think as they're looking at it, like Naomi like sort of rotates her own shoulder, like just like working like a crick out or like a slightly shown muscle, and has that moment just like, oh, maybe they don't need to restructure the the shoulder joint completely, but they could rewire it slightly so to still give the free. It maybe won't have the same range of motion, but it'll be stronger and be able to hold.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Okay. Let's do. Do you remember when we first built? I say built Atlas, because I feel like there had to be something between Gilgamesh getting completely wrecked and Atlas coming to be. I like the thought. I don't know enough about Gilgamesh, but that maybe there's elements of Atlas that was in Gilgamesh, but it was like enough was new that a name change seemed appropriate.
Yeah.
So. Also, I just like to state for the record, to those of you in chat, that when I came up with the nickname of Q, like CU for copper, as in copper top, I had not had that pun in mind. And then August said, I like Q. And then my brain just like, well, you got to take that and you got to run. So I'm not sorry, but I felt the need to explain myself.
Yeah, I think putting together Atlas was the most rewarding and enjoyable thing that Aloysius has done during the war, during his time enlisted. Although, I want him to make the terrible suggestion. You sure we can't call it Theseus? Since we're only replacing parts. It don't have to be a whole new mech.
I'm sure. I like Atlas. And it seems appropriate. Like, I want a new name. I want something that's we both put into. You know? Call me sentimental, but I like naming the things we make together. Besides, you got to name Caraway. It's my turn.
He does chuckle.
Glad you liked that one, Danielle.
His smile fades a little, and he looks up at Nomi and says, I just don't want you thinking you gotta take the weight of the whole world on your shoulders.
I think she tries to make light of the situation a little, and because of who I am as a person, does a little flex, like both arms up, just like, yeah, but have you seen these shoulders? They're like made for it. And maybe realizes quite quickly that the joke's not going to cut it. and like lowers the arms back down.
I know you could carry Samson on those shoulders, but and he trails off.
I know what you're saying, Q. I appreciate it. You know, you're always looking out for me. But I mean, I ain't by myself. It ain't just me doing this.
Yeah, so long as you know, that, I don't. I just don't want you thinking it just has to be you. And he reaches out and takes one of her hands in both of his and like strokes the back of her hand with his thumb and leaves a smudge of grease on it.
Mm-hmm. I know. And I think she lifts her hand up towards her face, taking his hands with it, and like kisses his knuckles. I know you've got me. That you're in my corner. You and me. I'd like to leave it there, I think.
Sounds
It feels
good.
good. I will remove a scare token.
Awesome.
So what's this bit of insight?
I don't know if this is necessarily like, I think I think because of the scorch marks, like indicating high heat, that that's going to give him an excuse to pop off certain panels and rewire under there anyway, which is something that he may have wanted to do, but there wasn't enough time, or he couldn't justify the labor of digging in under those bits of plating.
I like that. Alrighty.
Do you remember how we discovered Hope still allows secret plans?
Hmm. All right. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, I got this. I feel like this is a recon mission, or it was like attacking. Maybe not something quite as big as the Sun Sphere, but definitely like an outpost of the UPRC. For sure. And I feel like maybe Aloysius was actually on this mission because they needed more than just the mechs on the ground. Maybe there was tech down there that needed like an expert, somebody who knew a bit more about that kind of thing. I don't know how much detail I want to, if we need to play this out a lot. But I like the thought as a callback and sort of to reflect the atoning that Aloysius has to build something, like create something on the fly to get into a room or to disable a device, or maybe even to stop something being opened again afterwards, like seals a door shut.
Mm-hmm.
That gives us the time to find what it is we're looking for. I just really like the parallel there of maybe it's after they've gotten away from all of this and that's happened and they got the thing and they've gotten to relative safety and they're waiting for their pickup.
Mm-hmm.
And like maybe Nomi isn't even in whichever. It might still be Gilgamesh at that point. And they're there just like breathing heavily. They've got this information. I just like the thought of Nomi just like looking at him and just like grinning out of nowhere, just like, you know what? I take it all back about your baby proofing. You brilliant man.
I think he kind of like huffs out a laugh and then says something that he thinks is very witty but is definitely not. Probably something like, well, yeah, they are all a bunch of big babies. Uh, you know, the UPRC, so.
I don't know if I don't. I think she just smiles and like they catch, and maybe then there's like a flashing light of their ride is there, and she just sort of takes his hand and pulls him away, and they get picked up and drive off or whichever it is. So I think that's a scene.
All right, I am removing a star token.
Alrighty. I think the insight is about what do we say? We had. I want the last bit. The thing they figured out to create is the big hole through the chest. So we've had the damage to the arm. We've had the scorch marks. What was the other bit of really visible damage? Was it weapons marking? Or was it something on the legs? I can't remember.
there was the armor plating that got ripped off, and then there was I almost said injury. There was damage to one of the legs, I think it was.
All right, I think what the insight is like how we could, the plating that was a bit too damaged, but we can make what's left of the damaged plating we can use to create almost like a boot or a brace for the damaged leg. And just like repurpose the stuff that's too damaged for its original purpose, but create something with it. So.
Cool, cool, cool.
Cool, cool, cool. I need to ask you a question. I'm just trying to figure out a new name for a place. So. Quick, doing a pretty little Google. Okay, let's call it the. No. Come on, internet. Work faster.
I believe in you, internet.
Okay, let's call this. Do you remember that talk we had after the Battle of? I'm trying to think of something with Madison. Because I'm thinking it's rather than it being a planet, it's like a narrow gap maybe between two planets, or a stretch of, or a cluster of moons or something like that. How about Madison's cluster, for whatever that might mean?
Sounds
Brian,
good.
Brian can ignore it if he hates it. So I'm just going to put this in here so we can give him these NPC names if need be.
Yes.
Battle of Madison cluster. There's definitely, like, it's probably got some other names, more colloquially speaking. Because he doesn't have a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah. Do you remember that talk we had after the Battle of Madison cluster?
Because I like parallels. The answer is yes, even though I was blind, stinking drunk. Where would this be?
I mean, this could be like crew quarters somewhere, even, like, if we wanted.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, uh, I'm just trying to think. It's like, do I want it in the crew quarters or do I want it, uh, like, while we're quote unquote in port somewhere?
Sure.
Fuck it. You know what?
What?
Uh, Aloysius, uh, wasn't. Okay, let me know if this is too convoluted.
Okay.
Like, Aloysius wasn't like on the front
Mm-hmm.
when the battle happened, but he heard about the battle and heard that
Mm-hmm.
there were some heavy losses on both sides and didn't know
Mm.
if Nomi was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So his, uh, I don't want to say coping mechanism because is getting blind stinking drunk really coping, but
Mm-hmm.
he finds uh he finds somewhere that will get him a handle of uh rot gut liquor
Mm-hmm.
of indeterminate origin,
Mm-hmm.
uh and I think when she when her platoon, or I think platoon is a correct term.
Yeah, or a
Uh
squad or whatever.
yeah.
Unit.
When her unit uh makes it back to port, uh he is immediately in the mech bay,
Mm.
waiting for. Would this be Gilgamesh or Atlas?
Let's say it's Atlas.
Yeah, immediately waiting for Atlas to be unloaded.
Hmm. And I think in this case, he's only taking very superficial damage. And maybe she's a little bruised, but as she like pops the cockpit, um, and sees him there, and probably goes to and realizes, probably smells the booze before she gets like completely next to him. And just like, hey, you all right?
Yeah, I'm just fine. Why are you asking? And he tries to
Mm.
pretend uh that he wasn't worried sick.
Mm-hmm. Cause you smell that like that still we tried to make that before, you know, before we got married. And
Tried nothing. We succeeded.
I'm surprised none of us made it in the hospital with that stuff.
Ain't Still's fault that the mash was bad.
It's a miracle that still didn't blow.
He kind of cocks his head and is like, okay, fair.
Mm.
He, like, leans against Nomi
Mm-hmm.
and, like, thinks he's being slick about,
Mm-hmm.
like, patting her down
Amazing.
for injuries.
Uh-huh.
But
Mm-hmm.
to anybody else, it probably looks like he's just getting handsy with her. But I
Mm-hmm.
think she's known him long enough to
Yeah.
understand what he's doing.
Yeah. And I think she lets him do it. Like, lets her, like, doesn't like quite kneel down, but like drops enough that he can reach everything comfortably. Like, given that I've always thought of Aloysius as being very short, so
Mm-hmm.
she might be almost a foot of height on him.
Yeah.
Um, and once he's done doing his checking, as it were, she'll like catch hold of his hands, like one in each. And I think, yeah, I'm gonna be on my bullshit. Like her hands like curl round his wrists, and she squeezes just a little bit, like the pressure stim kind of way,
Mm-hmm.
and just says quietly in her voice, "Q, I'm fine."
He's still trying to pretend that he's being slick, and so even though uh, his smile is a little watery, he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "You sure are, darling."
Oh, lines like that. No wonder you managed to marry me.
He kind of laughs and is like, "Well, that that dowry had to pay for my sense of humor."
Oh, is that what it was? Mighty steep price it was. Worth every dime. And she like pulls him into a hug. Um, just dealing with this, just like doesn't care. Like, I think it's as much for her,
Mm-hmm.
like seeing how worried he was, and he's not admonishing her or anything like that. It's just sort of like a quiet acceptance of it, and there's no like reprisals here.
Yeah, I think the only thing he really says as he like tries to hug her back
Mm-hmm.
is it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. She just pulls back just a little bit and like rests her forehead against his. Because that's my jam.
It's a very good jam.
Alright. And I'll remove Scar token.
Um
So this is about the hole through the chest, as it were.
yes. Um I think Aloysius's 'Aloysius's first thought is like, this area has to be double reinforced, but he realizes after some thought that it would be better to deflect incoming fire rather than just try to stop it outright. So he comes up with a plan to like subtly modify that area so that it's more likely that incoming fire will be deflected.
All right. Once both players have removed all their scar tokens, each narrate a montage sequence where they repair the mech. Then we'll proceed to the final game. So I assume this is like together.
Yeah.
Like this. Yeah. I like the visual of first, like, him directing her, like, what parts need to come off. And that's how it starts, is like him pointing and her following that direction.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the first clip of the montage.
I think the second snapshot in the montage is like he needs to get somewhere difficult to reach, and so like she boosts him up because I'm on my bullshit, and the visual of her like holding him steady on her shoulder is just very good.
It's very good. The next shot is the two of them like wrapping. I think that it's Nomi holding the bracing for the leg. What? Actually, no, maybe it's the arm. So the two of them are like on this lift, the elevated lift thing, and Nomi's like holding the arm in place, full on like, and he's something, and there's some good sparks going on, and it's just very gay. I want this to be like a moment where one of them is looking at the other and there's like sparks slightly in the background.
Yes.
Because yes.
Again, because I like parallels, I think maybe the next shot is like Nomi has been like holding something or lifting something for Aloysius, and she took a break, and he went and he got a cold drink for her, and brought it back for her to drink.
Good chat. Looking at a thing. I think like the last shot of the montage is her sat in the in as much as there's a seat in the cockpit, so he can judge where something needs to be shifted to. I'm not going to go full gay with it yet. We got a last game, but and maybe it's like he's on the lip of the cockpit, and just like, or maybe he's like stretching around to do something, and like, her hands are on his waist just to steady him as he's like what starts to wobble a little bit, and she just catches hold of him a little and keeps him steady.
Nice.
All right. So the last game is testing the waters. Both players describe one detail about the cockpit. And then mechanic describe one of the mech systems that is finally functioning. And then pilot describe one feature that the mech can do now that it was not able to do before. I got a detail. Oh, you go first.
I like the idea that there is a photo of the kids circa age. What are their age spreads again?
Yeah, 4 years and then 3 years and then 5 years between.
Yeah.
So 8 years.
Circa Caraway to Cooper 7 and Sam 10.
Nice. My detail is that the seat, the way it's within, or it's almost like suspended a little bit within the cavity that is the cockpit. And it's almost like a porch swing in how it's hooked in there, and it can move slightly with the motion of the mech as need be. And I think, I think when they built it, when they refitted it to be this mech to be Atlas, Naomi maybe mentioned missing, like offhandedly mentioned missing the porch swing back home, and it was like this little touch, like to evoke that. So
dig it.
All right. What's one of the systems that's finally functioning?
I think some sort of like everything I can think of is stuff that it's like it should have already been functioning.
Well, maybe like it's finally repaired. Like because of the damage to the cockpit, it wasn't working, and now you've rewired it so it is.
Okay. Yeah, so I think the heads up display may have been finicky before, but is now rock solid.
All right. And one feature that I think what it is where this sort of deflecting thing is put in, where there's been the new move to the arm and there's that brace on the leg. I think it's this sort of almost like the shielding can shift slightly, in the same way that like you might deflect something with a shield. Like it's almost like this things can rearrange or lock together slightly to form like almost like a rounded surface for whatever projectile to bounce off rather than go through. It sort of helps absorb and then, in theory, send it off sideways.
Mm.
So we'll call it the rebound feature.
Sounds good.
All right. The bolder person asks the first question from the list below. Then the players alternate turns asking from the questions list until everybody has asked 2 questions. So I feel like it might be Nomi. For all that she's quieter, I think she's the one that has the prize with him, was the one that like sort of like that first move towards friendship and calls him on his bullshit. So all right. These are good. I like these. For our listeners, this is where stuff can get gay. The lights inside shut off for a moment. When they come back and illuminate my face, what emotion do you feel first?
Oh, man.
Oh, I think it's a soft yellow light as well, just to lean in to what we've been establishing.
I think the emotion that he feels first is awe.
I like it. Gonna play fast or loose. I think she notices the way he's looking at her. I think her cheeks just darken just a little bit. And like lowers her eyes a little bit and just like fiddles with the cockpit. Because, excuse me, I'm always here for people that have been together for a long time but can really still push each other's buttons and make each other feel good stuff.
Yeah.
It's good shit.
Here's a good one. I fumble awkwardly trying to use a control panel. How do you help?
Yeah, I'm leaning in. I think she sort of sits forward a little, and then the chair and the seat sort of swings, pushes back a little, and she's like bracing. She like reaches around because he's basically in the cockpit with her at this point, and like just nudges his hand, like almost like her fingers come under his wrist a little bit, just like hey, and like nudges his hand forward, and just says like into his ear from behind, just like, now I know you know what you're doing with that. Just breathe.
Again, he turns that special shade of red that only fair-skinned redhead folks can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. At this moment, something causes you to laugh. What is it?
Um... Hmm. I think, like, for a second he had to actually sit in the chair, in the cockpit, uh, and like he was testing the harness system maybe, and the harnesses are adjusted for Nomi obviously, but he has to test them anyway, and he's just laughing at how comical he must look in her seat using her harness.
Cute. She laughs as well. And just sort of like, it's just the two of them in the cockpit in this moment, and I think like everything else sort of almost kind of fades away. It's just the two of them sharing.
Okay. In this moment, our gazes linger on each other. What emotions do I glean from your face?
I think first and foremost, he sees how much she loves him. And it's like writ large on her face. And there's determination, but also resignation. And there's a touch of not fear, but maybe apprehension. It's something that it's like she's trying to keep back, but he knows her well enough to know that she's not happy.
Yeah.
All right. So we have to now go to the concluding questions and decide between the two of us who leaves the scene first. Whoever leaves first asks question, or they answer the first of these concluding questions, and the other player answers the second.
So I am going to selfishly suggest that that Aloysius leave first.
Mm-hmm. Which me.
Because I want to know what Nomi thinks that she should have said earlier. So
Okay. So what regret comes to Aloysius's mind as he leaves the cockpit?
I think, you know how sometimes when you're in a super stressful situation, you end up focusing on like really small, vaguely petty stuff. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, but uh, the thing that he regrets right now is he wishes he'd framed that shot of their children better so it didn't look so amateurish. Because if you don't think about the war that you're fighting possibly hopelessly, maybe it won't be happening, right? That's how that works.
Sure. Oh, there's a crying robot in the chat. And my question is, when you see the other's back turn to leave, what words reach your lips you should have said earlier? Do you say them now? And because I want my big gay moment, she is going to say it, and she hops down out of the mech. Oh, I think it's more of a swinging down, because that's actually probably quite high to maybe just jump straight down.
Yeah.
But sort of swings down and sort of catches up to him. Catches hold of his hand and says to him, how to phrase this? I kind of know what I want it to be, but it's like figuring out the words for it. So
Yeah.
I've been wrong about a lot of stuff in my life. I'm sure that there's plenty of mistakes I made. But, I mean, being here might be one of them. Maybe you were right when you said that there ain't no point to it. But it's selfish for me to say, I know, but if this is how it's gotta go, I'm so glad that you're here. I don't know how to be strong without you.
Aloysius looks at her for a moment and then takes her face between his hands and says, "Now, don't go listening to a fool like me. This ain't pointless. This is the third most important thing I've ever done. First one being saying yes when you asked for my hand, and second one being not letting you name Cooper. And you can tell he's trying to make you smile, but his heart's not in it. And he continues, "But you're wrong. You are always strong. And that's why we're gonna get through this, and that's why we're gonna make it home to Sam and Coop and Caraway, and that's why I'm gonna try to bake a great big cake when we get there, and you're not gonna let me."
I love you, Aloysius.
I love you too.
And she's gonna smooch him.
Yay!
His smooches are good.
Yes.
Actually.
They're very good.
And that is the end of the game. And they both lived happily ever after.
Totally. And Aloysius tried to bake a giant cake, but it didn't go well because he can't bake to save his life, and Nomi had to find a fucking fire extinguisher.
Danielle's yelling at us.
We love you, Danielle. This is revenge on you for last night, by the way. I'll try to figure out a time to get revenge on you, Jade. It may be during In Dreaming Avalon, but your comeuppance will happen in the future. But for now, this is Danielle's comeuppance.
I have no doubt. But yeah, that's been a long night in the Mech Bay. Thank you for joining us on the stream. If you made it to the end, love this game. You should check it out. Link is in the description below the Twitch stream, and you can play it yourself. It's a good shit. And if you like this universe that we dabbled in, and you're for some reason not listening to the room where it happened, you absolutely should, because it's a real great setting with really awesome people playing it. It's good shit. Thank you for letting us steal it for a little bit to play. Tune in to this Twitch channel on Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern for Interstitial. Brian's GMing. Got Mac, Shannon, Richard, and guests Riley, Hopkins, and Jeff Stormer playing, as I said, Interstitial. I've seen the overlay that Brian's been working on. You guys are in for a treat.
Choice. It is so choice.
I know a little bit about what he has planned, and who boy, you're going to want to tune in. But in the meantime, we will sign off for the night. I've been Jade. You can find me at Jade Oxford Rose. Please come talk to me and have emotions about more Shelbys, because apparently just having them about one plus their siblings was not enough. Had to get intergenerational with this.
Yes. And I've been August. You can find me on Twitter at HarpyDora. Please also talk to me about the Shelbys, especially Nomi and Samson, because they are my spouses. My spouses, not like only one of those is Aloysius's spouse.
And that's it for tonight. Be safe as you can, dear listeners. Be well as you can. Tell the people you love that you love them.
Yep.
And we love you too.
Indeed. Good night, y'all.
Good night.